we'll get started. I guess we'll kind of start, just introduce ourselves. My name's Bridget. I sit in our Twin Cities office in Minnesota, and I do all of our internship in college, recruiting and hiring for our Midwest offices. So we'll talk about, we have offices kind of all across the country. I tend to be a little bit of an expert just on our kind of Midwest area. So Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and now Kansas City. So that's kind of where I spend most of my time, but have a pretty good pulse on kind of what goes on across the country and the region. So that's a little bit what I do. I basically do stuff like this. I go to a lot of college campuses and run our intern program and new hires. So Izzy, introduce yourself.
I'm Isabella. I go by Izzy. I graduated from Ohio State in December of 2017. So I've been working for almost 4 years now. It flew by. I am in development services, so I primarily focus on commercial and industrial development. And these are some of my clients. I do a lot of work for Amazon, some warehouses and data centers, some Carvana towers and inspection centers, and then a couple of Burger Kings and Krispy Kreme 1 acre sites. So a lot of variety with my stuff.
Do a lot of Raising Cane's as well. So
oh yeah,
we gotta support our clients. You're eating it. So we'll talk a little bit more about like what Izzy does specifically too with some of her projects as well. Cool. So who is Kimley-Horn? We are primarily a civil engineering, design, and planning consulting firm. So we have offices all across the country. We'll go into a little bit more about some of like the things that we do specifically. We're a multidisciplinary firm. We also have services in regards to environmental planning, landscape architecture, probably not things that you all are really looking to do, but we do have those services and they do partner with our engineers a lot as well. So a little bit look into where we have offices and what we have going on. So as you can see, this PowerPoint I had to update last minute because it used to say like 80 plus offices like 2 years ago. And now we have over 100. The map is probably outdated too. There's a couple dots that we need to add, but you know, that's what happens when you're growing quickly, I guess. So as you can see, generally, a lot of our offices are kind of in like a U shape across the country. I like to say that we're pretty coastal outside of our offices here in the Midwest. So we just tend to have a lot of work in those areas. Our kind of largest states where we have offices is, as you can see, in Florida, Texas, and probably California. Also 3 of the largest states, so probably makes quite a bit of sense. And then our presence obviously on like the East Coast, our Southeast region, and then here in the Midwest. We started in Raleigh, North Carolina, so that's still where our headquarters technically is. There's nothing that special about it besides I think a couple leaders sit there, as well as some of our like accounting and finance people firm-wide, and some of our like communications folks. But other than that, it's kind of just a standard office now, and we have offices all across the country. We started primarily as a transportation firm, so focusing on traffic engineering and road design. You'll see we still do a lot of that work. It's pretty significant in a lot of our offices, but we have a really wide variety of different things that we do now. That's just kind of how we originated, and which is why in a lot of cities we're kind of known for that type of work. We have over 5,000 employees, over 5,500 now. Again, that was, I think, 3,800 like 2 years ago. So we're growing a ton at a really high rate, which is awesome. We've been around for over 50 years, and now we are 14 plus years as one of Fortune's best companies to work for. So something we're really proud of. It's surveys that are taken by current employees. It's not, you know, someone at Fortune that we're paying side door to put us on the list. It's our current employees that are voting that they really enjoy working here. So something that we're really proud of. Any questions on this? I want you guys to like ask questions throughout. We'll leave time to ask questions at the end, but like honestly, the more you can ask throughout it when the question comes to mind is probably going to be really helpful too. Yeah.
Could you give us a little bit of insight as to why your company being 14 plus years of Fortune best company to work for?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of reasons. Well, there's a slide kind of later on that's called perks, which is like all the cool things about working here. And that's probably a lot of the reasons why we're on that list. If I had to say a couple things, and I'll have Izzy chime in too, our retirement is awesome. You're probably not thinking about your 401ks right now, but something that you might want to think about down the road. Essentially, when you put in 4% to your 401k, Kimley-Horn gives you 18% in your 401k, which is a lot of money. So I think that that's a major reason. We also do a really good job of rewarding our employees financially as well through bonuses at the end of the year and just opportunity in general. And we really do have so much opportunity within our firm. We're multidisciplinary, we're multifaceted. You're not just kind of tied down to one thing for the rest of your career. There really is a lot of opportunity to grow. So I think those are probably the biggest things. I don't know if you have anything.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll cover more of it, but number one for me is probably the people. I mean, we like to hire the best of the best. So everyone you're working with really wants to work hard and help you, and everyone's always willing to support you.
Yeah.
There's so much I don't even know. I guess also the classic Dan. I feel like there's nothing that we can't do. Like we have the resources and the people, like, I don't know, we can collaborate with people all over the country and just say yes to any opportunity. And every project's a success. Like, we just have such great resources that not every other firm can have.
So we have a slide on that too. So we'll talk a little bit more on that, how we shift employees around, but it's people weirdly do all know a lot of people in other parts of the country. I think sometimes it's hard to believe that you can actually be that connected with people in other states, but you're not just working on local projects. You might be helping people in other states or other areas too throughout your career as well. So we really are kind of interconnected. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. Cool. So what do? We can spend quite a bit of time here too, because I know there's like a lot of information, but we're a multidisciplinary firm. So what we mean by that is we don't necessarily have like one particular area that we're focused on. So you might talk to some firms and they're like, okay, you know, we do a lot of structural work. They're primarily just like building bridges, or like we do land development. We kind of do it all. We can kind of go through some of these or things that people want to talk about. I will point out, I would say kind of our core disciplines, so disciplines that are pretty common in most of our offices, would be our land development or development services. That's what Izzy does, so she'll talk a little bit more about that. Our transportation services, so roadway, transportation planning, transportation systems, operations, things like that. And then I'd say the next one would probably be some of our water. So whether it be surface water, water, wastewater, we do a lot of that in Florida, things kind of oriented around that. Those are probably our most common, and then everything else we have pockets of here and there. It just depends on your office and location. So I guess any questions on these, because I know when you're in school, you learn a lot, but not all of it is what you actually do in the real world with your degree. There's a lot of things that you don't learn in school that you could do as a career with your civil engineering degree. So I guess, do anybody have questions on these or things that like you want to hear or learn more about? Yeah.
I guess I could have also asked this kind of the last slide, but I'll do this. So like first part, how large is the Columbus office specifically?
Mhm.
And then in the Columbus office, which one of these is
I'll let you answer.
Sure. So I interviewed in October of 2017, and there were 4 people in the office. So I was like the 5th one hired, and now we're in the 40s. So we grew pretty fast. And in our office, I would say development services is definitely the biggest one. I'm part of that group. Our second biggest is probably our roadway team. They're kind of newer, but we just hired a bunch of people to help us out on some roadway projects.
And then we have a couple folks that do aviation planning. It's kind of a niche thing, but we have a couple people that do that. And then we just hired somebody to do environmental work. So we have literally one person that does that.
You guys also have an office in Akron too, it's pretty new, right?
Yep, so our Akron office has been around for maybe like 3 years now, something like that. And they primarily just do telecom. So it's basically like civil site design and structural work for telecommunication towers, essentially Verizon.
We have 5G towers everywhere they're going up.
Yep, yeah, so we'll do, like, I was literally just talking to someone in that office and he was in his car and I was like, what were you doing? And he was like, oh, I did some tower climbing today. I was like, that's sweet.
It's scary.
It's so scary, but like really cool. So we'll do, it's kind of a combination of, I like to say, of like the land development aspects mixed with some structural components for the towers. So those are kind of the two things that you're doing from that perspective. But yeah, that office also is maybe like a little over 2 years old, started with like 4 people and now has like 30.
Yeah.
It's growing really fast.
Where do you see a lot of your environmental engineers at? Or is it pretty spread out?
That's a good question. We've been talking a lot about that today. So every school is a little bit different too. Like some schools, it's like civil and environmental engineering is combined. Sometimes it's split. So I think we're still kind of figuring that out. A lot of times our environmental engineers end up honestly doing work that's pretty civil. If you're looking to do like pure environmental, like pure environmental engineering type of work, there's very few firms, I feel like, that have that like specialty. But I'd say our environmental engineers end up doing land development like what Izzy does, or we'll focus on like some of our water, wastewater, like treatment facility design, or our hydrology and hydraulics. I'd say those are like the 3 most common. But our like environmental groups are scientists. Like they are like in the field, in like literally in fields. And a lot of them are like natural resources or like biologists. So we don't really have like a group that's like an environmental engineering group, but we have groups that like do some things you probably learned in school, but are a little bit more civil based design. And then our environmental groups are like pure science people. So I don't know if that like answers your question, but I think there was a hand over here somewhere.
It was me. I was gonna ask, pretty much.
Like the same thing. Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
While we're on this side, I was just wondering, if we're interested in a particular area, how would we go about looking for jobs in that area? Is there a way to search that, or like, because you said they're in different offices,
Yeah,
so how do you find it?
It's hard because we do so many things. We have so many offices that sometimes it's like not the easiest to figure out where you can do certain things. I would start by looking at our applications. You'll find roles for civil engineering internships or civil analyst positions. When you click on the position in that city, it will show the disciplines that they have there. So I think searching by city and location first and then what they offer is going to be your best bet. For example, if you click a civil analyst position in Columbus, you're going to see the disciplines listed that you said we have there. If you click my office in the Twin Cities, we have over 200 people and we do a really wide variety of different things. So you're going to see all those listed. So if like that city interests you and then you see something listed in there that interests you, that is probably going to be a good bet. But if you click a city and then they only do like roadway design and you're not looking to do that, then maybe that city isn't going to be the best fit. So that's probably my best suggestion.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anything else? Cool.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, I'll have you.
I can just talk a little bit about development services since it's probably our most common position that we have available. So basically, the main projects are commercial and industrial, which I do, and then single and multifamily residential, like housing developments, apartment complexes. And so the scope of our work can include plan production, which is pretty much what I do all day. I'm in CAD, I'm designing plans for a Chase Bank to be built. That's like the main thing. Sub-consultant coordination. So a lot of times since we don't have a lot of environmental folks in-house, we will sub those out to do assessments for wetlands or, I don't know, floodplain things. Yeah, permitting. So just coordinating with them. All of our subs are surveyors. We don't really do a lot of surveying in-house, so we sub that out a lot. And then construction phase services. So when a project goes under construction, we have a lot of contractors asking us questions, sending us RFIs. So we have to review shop drawings. So those are kind of the main things that we do. And then sometimes we have roadway components to these. So typically if there's like a big industrial site, we'll have to do a traffic impact study, and maybe a turn lane or two is warranted and a traffic signal is needed. So that's pretty much our scope, but we can handle those projects, but then our roadway team kind of takes on the bigger scope roadway projects, especially for like ODOT and the county. And then permitting assistance. So this, you don't really think about this a lot, but Target has been refreshing all of their stores. So they used to have like old branding. You might have gone into like an old store and it has like 80s stuff inside. And then all the new ones have like modern, like they're getting rid of the words Target and just doing like bullseyes. And so there's actually a big process that goes behind doing that. So Target has actually hired us to do their permitting assistance. So each city that they want to do a refresh in, we have to look at the code, look at the architectural elevations, talk to the city, figure out if we need a variance, figure out if what is being proposed is okay. We have to go to meetings for them sometimes. So there's just a lot that you don't really think about that goes into something as simple as swapping out a sign. So I don't really do a lot of that, but
We're doing a lot of that in Minnesota. I know. We
Yeah.
have a lot of people doing that right now.
yeah.
One thing I'll add kind of about that too, I think one of the reasons, like you're saying, kind of like the perks and benefits of our firm is that we're able to win some of these big clients, big projects, because we have offices in so many different places that like Amazon or Target, like these aren't just like, oh, we won this project in Columbus. It's like, no, we won them as an entire firm. So like we might be working on targets in offices scattered all throughout the country. So I don't know if that makes sense, but like we get these big national, we have some local clients and then we have national clients that like we all serve. And I think that's why we're able to win some of these big clients and projects, because we can tell them, hey, we have offices in almost every major city in the country, so we can service you in just about anywhere that you need. And even if they have, targets in Iowa and we don't have an office there, we can do the Iowa work in Minnesota. So that's, that's fine. So
Yeah. An example of that is like we have a Starbucks project manager, basically like the face of Starbucks for Kimley-Horn, and they manage all of Kimley-Horn's Starbucks projects. And this girl calls me and she's like, hey, Izzy, Starbucks wants to put in a new location in like Northern Kentucky, and like Columbus is the closest office. Do you guys think you can handle this project for us? Just because it's nice to have like a local face or a closer face. So just being able to pass projects from one team to another, because we're a one profit center, so everyone benefits regardless of who's doing the work. I really like that.
it allows you to work on projects you might not have ordinarily thought that you would too.
Yeah. So this is not the best picture, but every time I go to REI in Dublin, I drive past my bank and it's finally being built. So this is my Chase Bank, pretty exciting stuff. It's on Sawmill. So I guess the first step to any development project is the client will say, we want to develop this on this parcel of land. So our job is to place the building, come up with a site layout that maximizes parking, fits, like isn't inside the setbacks for pavement and buildings, and then basically come up with a whole layout, do all the grading and the utilities and the stormwater design. So this is the first step, is just coming up with a site plan. This is like just kind of a dimensional control plan. There are some keynotes on the side, but I took them off just so you could see it a little bit better. And then the next step is usually grading. So this is probably one of the more important parts. So that's just a snip from CAD, and that snip with all of the elevations is what the contractor will actually build off of. So my job is to, those white lines are called feature lines, and I basically set elevations and slopes, and it creates a surface. So it's really fun. It's kind of like a big puzzle, but we get to do this on almost every project. It's kind of cool just picking where you want the low points in the site to be. This is actually an underground detention system. I'll show you on the next slide. So I get to coordinate with a sub-consultant for this. Contact is who we use for underground systems. So lots of coordination goes into these projects. This is just the utility plan. It has sanitary, water, storm, gas, electric. So just wanted to show you guys a small scale site and just three of the pages that go into the set. Usually there's like maybe 10 for like a site this big, but unlike my Amazon data center that I just did, we have over 100 pages. So it's, the scale's a bit different. But yeah, that's just like a glimpse of what I work on.
Do you guys have questions for Izzy on any of that? Yeah.
When you're designing something like this, do you collaborate with other people, or is it kind of just on your own? Like, it's probably different for like the bigger projects. But...
Sure. Yeah, so the architect kind of gives us the building footprint. So it'll give us they'll give us a CAD block with all of the interior. So we clean it up so that you can only see the outer line, because our scope is usually just outside of the building. So we don't really focus on anything inside. So I'll place the building on site. I will sketch up how I think the most efficient layout will look, and then we'll send it back to the client, and they'll give us comments, and it's iterative. So once they finally give buy-off on the site plan, we start our prelim engineering usually, and we'll send that to the city for buy-off. So it's not just me doing this, I do something that I think is good, and then I get comments, and then I just keep going through that process. And then I like to check in with my boss every time I have a question, or just like halfway through my design, just to make sure I'm not like completely missing something. We definitely have a few layers of like QC in the office before anything's built.
And Izzy's been here for a couple of years, but like your first year, you probably weren't given like an entire project like this to do on your own.
Yeah, so like for your first year, like someone maybe my level will kind of do like all of the design for the set, and then you will maybe do all of the labeling and all of the annotation, or I will do a rough copy of a set, and then my boss will mark it up with red lines like, no, you're not pointing to the right thing with this label, or this text is too big, and then a newer analyst will just go through those red lines just to get familiar with CAD, because I know that coming into the job, pretty much no one knows CAD. So we know this.
Yeah, you won't be given, I just didn't want you guys to be like, oh my gosh, someone's just gonna be like, make this
No.
pink, like. don't
No,
worry.
and I typically, now that I'm like more in the design role, I will work with a younger analyst. So it's typically 2 analysts on a project. So I'll do the design, the detention calcs, and then another analyst will help with the annotation. So we work on it together. Yeah.
Is there any, like, field work that you do beforehand, or is that?
So if the site is close enough and like the survey is not clear, there's a discrepancy, then yes, I'll go out there and look at it. But I mean, we usually don't go in the field a lot. We trust our partners and our surveyors to do their job. We have some programs to look at like the most up-to-date imagery just to make sure everything lines up. But unless there's like a big issue, we don't really typically go out on site. sometimes they ask us to do construction phase services. So going out for like a punch walk and just making sure everything looks how it was supposed to be built, or I don't know. I haven't really gone out a ton, I will say.
We do have certain disciplines that might be in the field more than others. I'd say development services isn't really one of them. We were just saying we do some like, we call it asset management, I don't know why, but basically like pavement analysis. So those folks are almost like 50-50, like in the field and then doing like analysis and like they honestly don't do a lot of design. They're doing like a different type of work. We also like we do a lot of aviation work. So like airport design and planning, and those folks will sometimes spend like weeks or months at a time out in the field, like during construction. But it's not like, it's kind of few and far between. We've had some structural folks too, like we did a huge parking structure at the MSP airport, and we had like a couple engineers sitting on site for like a year during that construction process. That's not really common. That was like a huge project for us too. Like I think it's literally the biggest parking structure that like our company's ever built. So it's not very common, I guess.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about sharing files, and I was just wondering, because I'm starting to work as a team on some GIS projects, and it's been super frustrating. So I was wondering if you have like an efficient way to share those more complicated files.
So, well, for our drive structure, like all of our file management, I guess, everyone in the firm has access to every office's drive. So like Columbus has their own drive. If I need to send a file to like the Chicago office, they can request access to our drive and get all of our projects.
Okay.
So we
have a pretty intense like file sharing system, I guess.
It works well though.
it works very well.
Constantly frustrated.
No,
Yeah.
and actually working from home for the pandemic, it was crazy. Like our IT teams, I don't know how they did it.
They didn't sleep for a while.
Yeah, they didn't sleep. I
You
don't know.
just don't like your home Wi-Fi and home computer like don't have the same capabilities that like we have in our offices to use, because we're using like, I mean, our engineers are using so much like big software
Yeah.
and like so many big files all the time that we're equipped and ready and prepared for that in our offices. But like a little Wi-Fi router at home is like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah,
we
they
can't handle
adapted us
this.
very quickly. At first, we
Yeah.
were working in shifts of like 5-hour chunks. Like your region has to work these hours, your region has to work these hours, and then that was like 2 days. And then IT was like, okay, we figured it all out. Like you can all work your normal hours
Because
now.
we couldn't have like 5,000 people like trying to work at once because the system like couldn't handle it from home, basically.
And then for sharing with like our sub consultants, we'll typically just do like the command is like Civil 3D export safely, and it will just bind all of our files and we can just send them out with a little CAD disclaimer so that we're not liable for anything. But it's pretty easy.
We're like prepared and capable for those things. Whereas like when you're in school, I bet there's not that easy.
Anything else?
You can, if anything comes up too, you can always ask. We've been talking about this a little bit, but teamwork is paramount to our success. So none of our offices are competing against each other, but rather we work together. So that's kind of what I was saying a little bit before. So we function as one profit center, which means that essentially all of our offices are working towards a common goal. We are not competing. And basically all of the projects that we win, all the clients that we get, all the money that we make is put into one big pot and distributed out. So basically somebody else's success is your success, just like anyone else. So yeah, we win a big Starbucks project. This person's not going to be like, I don't want to give Columbus this project to work on. It's like, great, we have someone in Columbus that could go do that for us. Awesome. Like, let's see if they can help. So It also allows us to shift our employees. So I kind of like to use this as a good example. Some questions I get often are kind of how we like got through the pandemic, I guess. And I kind of like to use shifting to explain that as well. So if one team is a little bit light on work and one team, let's say, wants a huge project and it's like, I don't know how we're going to get this done, they can still take on that project, right? They don't want to turn down a lot of work, right? We want to win work. That's how we have jobs. But they might not have the staff or capability to complete that project. And we can't just hire random people at the drop of a hat to help them. But we have people in other offices or in the same office who maybe are light on work and could help temporarily for days or weeks or months even with that team on that project. So we call that shifting. And I think that that was kind of a crucial part to our success during the pandemic as well, because, you know, we're just like everyone else. We lost projects. We had projects get put on hold. We had, you know, a variety of things happen. And if folks were in that area, you know, they could go and help other teams that maybe weren't light on work and had a lot of projects. So it allows us to be really flexible. It allows you as an employee to get opportunities to work on things that maybe you wouldn't ordinarily think about. Outside of the pandemic, it gives you opportunities to travel and meet new people, which is fun. So some people shift very frequently. Some people don't really shift much at all. You're not going to get like discredited if you are asked to shift and you don't want to do it or you can't. That is perfectly fine. They're not like, oh, knock on Bridget. We asked her to go to Columbus for a couple days and she said she couldn't go. Like, it's perfectly fine. It doesn't work for everyone. But it really does allow you to get some cool opportunities. It also allows us to take on projects, win work, be collaborative and get all of our projects done, meet our deadlines across the firm. Yeah.
When you go through shifting, does the time vary? Like, could it be like a week, or could it be like up to like months or so?
I'd say an average shift is like a week.
Yeah.
So
Week or two.
I'd say a week or two is like the most common amount of time. But I mean, I'd say some of our biggest like shifts, if it's like longer than that, is some of our aviation or airport people, because you might be like shifted to work on the Indianapolis airport, and that's like a huge, it might take 6 months, but that's not very common at all. Most of the time, I'd say it's within your own region, generally speaking, but you do shift outside of your region as well. I don't, you've shifted?
I've shifted a couple times actually. So I remember like 4 years ago, I was sitting where you are and I was like, wait, they're just gonna shift me like randomly, like, and I have to go somewhere, but it's not like that. So actually my second month at Kimley-Horn, they were like, we need help designing a hockey arena in Chicago. And I was like, okay, I don't even know how to use CAD. They flew me out to Chicago, they shifted me, they worked with me, they taught me, like, it was a great opportunity. So they definitely take your opinion into consideration. They're not just gonna say, oh, you're shifting. They're gonna say, are you busy this week? Because I think we might need to shift you. If not, we'll find someone else. So I really like that.
Yeah, because there are some people that like, I don't know, maybe you have kids, or I mean, my dog is basically my child, and if they were like, can you leave tomorrow? I might be like, no, like I don't have a plan. I think usually too, they might ask you like a week or two before you would shift,
Yeah.
but it's not like super far in advance, because a lot of times it's like because we have a quick need that needs to get done. But yeah, I mean, the other cool thing about it too is honestly just the relationships that you make. Like, you meet people in that office, and then maybe down the road, if you have a question, you might be like, I remember, you know, Johnny in Chicago was really good at that type of stuff. I might reach out to him and ask if he could help me with this, or it's just fun to get to know people too. I mean, we have awesome people, and then when we have like different events, or like we have kickoff every year where we all get together and meet up and go through things, and it's just fun to see those people again that you spend time with.
Your question?
So, why would you need to shift if you could just send counts to drive?
So I was going to touch on that. So sometimes we can do remote shifting. So just request access to the drive. It's not as efficient as being in person with your team. Sometimes I prefer to like physically be there. It's also quicker if you're on their computer because there's definitely a lag when you're doing remote work sometimes. So yeah, I just kind of like being in person. It's just more collaborative.
The past 2 years, all of our shifts have been remote. So you're working on that project, but you're sitting in your own office. We're still doing that for the most part. I know that eventually that's not our plan and we will go back to shifting in person just because it's such a big part of kind of our company and how we like to do things. But for now, I know unless it's like crucial that somebody is there, we have been doing remote shifting.
Yeah, we did it for 11 months, so. we could do
Yeah.
it.
We're kind of
It
used to
works.
it now, but I think that the end goal will be to have people try to go different places again.
It's fun too. Free
Yeah.
food, free hotel. You can stay the weekend. It's fun.
Can't complain. Cool. So development. You all go to a great school, right? You're getting a great education, but learning shouldn't stop right when you graduate and start a new job. Honestly, there's so much more to learn once you start a job and a career than you could ever imagine. So we have a variety of different trainings that we offer within the firm. I kind of like to separate them into 2 chunks. One of them is more on like the technical engineering side, and the other trainings on top are more of like your business and consulting related trainings that we offer. So in your first like 2 weeks, whether you're an intern or a full-time hire, you go through an AutoCAD or MicroStation boot camp. So kind of a crash course. If you had internships elsewhere, it might be like kind of redundant, but it's a good refresher anyways. And for those that haven't really touched it before, it's a good chance to start learning. Honestly, most of the CAD training you're gonna get is on the job and learning from your partners and your teammates, but it's still helpful to kind of have that in the beginning. And then we have our technical training. I could have you talk about that a little bit too, but you have technical training throughout your first 2 years. It is developed in-house by our own engineers. So you are learning things that our own engineers think are useful and helpful. This isn't random tasks from like a third-party company telling us to learn this. So that's very helpful. It basically consists of like courses that you take online, followed by like workshops that are run by professional engineers in our organization. So they're hosted by people maybe in different offices, but engineers within our own company, which is pretty cool. So those are specific to your discipline as well. So if you're in transportation, it's going to be transportation related. If you're in development services, it's going to be about DS. If you're in, we're still kind of developing trainings in some of our more like niche groups. Like I know we're launching a transit training, like I think soon, like a year, maybe. I don't know if that's open knowledge, but now it is.
Go tweet about it right now.
Yeah. Go to Instagram. So like we're trying to develop more niche like trainings for people too, but we'll still have you do a training even if it's slightly different than your normal job. So yeah, I think those are really helpful because you only learn so much on the job based on the clients and the projects that you have at the moment, but you still want to learn other things outside of that. So those are helpful. You can revisit that information later too. You might like a year or 2 down the road have a project that's applicable to one of the courses that you had, and you can revisit those materials kind of like school. You can go back and look at that and kind of learn how to do something. Our trainings on the top, the first 3 here are a little bit more culture based. It's honestly just an opportunity for you to meet up with people, learn more about the firm, just kind of professional development. And then the big one is our consultant training. So typically this happens after you get your PE. As a firm, we very encourage our employees to get their PEs. We pay for it. We pay for your study materials. It's something that we, I don't want to necessarily say push, but highly encourage you do when you are able, so that you can progress in your career. Once you've passed that, you're eligible to attend our consultant training. So usually those come anywhere from, like your 4th to 6th years here. But honestly, it's a crash course in consulting. How do you manage a team? How do you go out and win work and win business? How do you track your sales? How do you do like the finance side of things? So it's really kind of a crash course in how to do a lot of that stuff. The nice thing too is like you'll have mentors and leaders within your office that will show you all of those things. I think that's another great thing about our firm. I feel like everybody is very encouraging and like genuinely wants you to be successful. Like they will show you how to go out and win clients if you're passionate about consulting. So yeah, those kind of happen at those times. What I think is cool is like, you could be like 5 years out of school as a true like engineering consultant trying to win projects at work. Like, I think that's pretty cool. You can still be like in your 20s, basically going out and trying to win projects. Like we don't wait till you're like 40
Yeah, my
to
boss,
give
yeah,
the chance.
my boss is like 28 and he has like a $2 million practice. So you move up quickly.
Yeah. Any questions on these? Cool. I won't spend too much time on this slide, but basically our structure is very loose. This is like as close to an org chart as you'll ever find for us. As you can tell by us talking, we're very team and group oriented. We really value every person on the team and what they're able to offer. We don't have a very strict hierarchy amongst our employees. So with that being said, we don't have like a very strict structure in how we're organized. But generally speaking, as you can see, our clients always come first. We would not be here if we did not have clients. So clients are always our #1 priority, coming through for them. The main reason that we are successful and we keep winning work and winning projects is because we're coming through for our clients and then they want to keep working with us. We were just talking to someone at the fair, someone from another company came and talked to us and he was like, yeah, I mean, you guys did what you said you were going to do and you did it on time and it was great. And it was like, awesome. That's what we want to hear, right? And next time they need something done, like they might come back to us for it. So that's pretty cool. Under that is our practice teams. So that's all of our engineers. So Izzy, everybody that works for us is our practice teams. How we're functioned is through practices. So when you think of the word practice, you probably think of like a law firm or maybe like a doctors. So that's kind of how we function within our firm. So like Izzy said, her boss has a practice, right? So that's kind of like the book of work, right? And clients that he brings in, and then his team works on those projects for him. So, I mean, he's plugged into all of them as well, but his main responsibility is like bringing in those clients to support his team with projects to work on. And so we kind of function in groups and teams like that. What I think is cool is that being a practice builder or like leading a practice isn't this one thing where all of a sudden you get like promoted and it's like, this is your promotion, like you are now a practice builder. But it just kind of happens naturally. Like if you want to start winning work and then people start coming to you about projects, it's like, oh, I think I'm a practice builder now. Like I'm bringing in work. So it can happen at different points throughout your career if it's something that you want to do. It's not something that like you have to wait for like Mr. John to retire so that you can take that role and get his projects.
And the thing about not saying no to work is that like it's constantly coming in. My boss said, hey, Izzy, do you want this client? Like you can start taking this client and running with it. I said, give me 1 more year. Let me get my PE and then I'll take it. So like there's always like, I know that there's going to be an opportunity for me and it's on your own schedule. So they're not just like you need to manage this client now.
And we're not selfish too, right? Like it looks good for her boss to give her work because he's being a good leader and supervisor and helping people win projects and run the things and giving them opportunities. That's honestly how you move up in our firm, not by just constantly only taking in work for yourself.
Yeah.
The more you help your partners and your team grow, like now you have more people underneath you that became successful. So, yep, under that is support groups. That's me. That's all of our IT staff, our human resources, finance, accounting. Marketing, we have awesome graphic designers, awesome marketing staff that help with a lot of that. So we're kind of here to support our engineers and practice. And then our management is at the bottom. So we have very few like true leaders within our organization. And they're basically just here to serve us and make sure that we're good to go. We have the things we need. We have the resources, but it's really our clients that are at the top and are the most important things to us. Perks.
Hey, who's that?
What's up, Dan? Dan interned with us this summer, so this is Izzy's doing, so you can blame her later.
It's a cute pic.
It's new.
It's a cute thing.
Newsletter.
You guys have sliders?
Yeah, slider food truck,
What the heck?
our own personal free food truck.
It's great, is that in the parking lot at your office?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm smiling so much.
I can't complain. We had a taco truck, I think, the same time, so. Cool. Well, perks. We could talk about perks like literally forever. I'm not gonna go through all of these. But you can see the top, what do you think you want, right? The basics. You want maybe opportunity to get some health insurance. You want some PTO. Those things are all great. But at Kimley-Horn, it really is so much more than just a salary. We really focus on kind of everything else, to be honest. Your salary is great, pays the bills day to day, but it's really about everything else that kind of comes along with working here. So I mentioned our 401k before. Our 401k is pretty unreal. Again, no one here is thinking about retirement yet, but it's pretty awesome. There are people within our firm who are like in their early 30s and they have financial planners telling them that they have the portfolio of like a 45-year-old. Like
It's insane.
it's pretty crazy. My like mentor at the firm, Robbie, he was his first job out of college and he is like counting down the days till he's on the golf course every day and retiring at like 52. So it's pretty sweet. I'm like, so I should have started like 4 years earlier, because that sounds pretty nice to me. So again, not something that you're probably thinking about right now, but at the end of the day, like, you don't want to work forever, right? Like, we all eventually want to feel like we're in a good, stable place to retire, and you can do that here. The other thing I will add, it's hard to like talk about the random perks that we have. We get random bonuses when we're successful. We're a private company and we're employee owned. So we can basically do whatever we want with our money. We choose to do a ton of that in our 401ks. We give amazing performance bonuses at the end of the year, like life-changing bonuses. Is these like,
I promise.
yeah, literally life-changing bonuses at the end of the year for your performance. They're also directly related to your performance. So like if Susie down the hall isn't showing up, she's not doing her part, like your bonuses are not the same. Yours is based off of your work, which maybe it's selfish, but I love it because like Susie can still keep her job. She's fine, but like I want to know that when I work hard, I'm getting directly bonused for that work. And I want to know that maybe I am making more of my bonus than Susie. You'll never know what everyone's bonuses are, but I can tell you they're very significant. They're a very large portion of your income for the year. There are a lot of people who are very successful in our company who have been here for quite some time, and their bonuses are significantly higher than their salaries. If that tells you anything. So
That hurts my brain.
I know. Just stay a little longer. You'll get there. Yeah, this picture is, I think, most people in our Columbus office, and this is them holding up their $1,000 gift cards that they got this summer. So it's a pretty fun day.
Just for doing nothing.
Yeah, just for hanging out. Dan remembers.
Yeah, I'm in the back. of that,
And yes, our interns are employees. They do great things for us over the summer. They are just as much part of the team as everybody else. Whatever spot bonuses we get that summer, they get too.
We also get red envelopes. So sometimes, like a few times a year, we'll just walk into the office and there will be a red envelope on our desk with like, I don't know, a $250 Visa gift card up to 1,000, like that.
Yeah.
So that's really fun. There's
It's
so
just good
much.
to know that like when we do well, like they'll basically be like, we got a red envelope, I think in like January or February, and they basically were like, we did better than we thought we were gonna do. So we have extra money and we're just gonna now give you more money. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. And like bigger publicly traded companies, like they're not gonna say, oh, we have extra cash, so we're gonna give you more. It's like, no, you don't know where that money, I mean, you know where it's going to the people at the top.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna be that like we're very transparent about like our financials and our goals and like where we're at. We share those in like quarterly meetings all the time of like what our goals are, where we're at, if we're like above our job starts, if we're kind of above like the money. At the end of the day, yes, we're all engineers, we're an engineering firm, but like we're a consulting business. And so we are very like numbers oriented too. Any questions?
So would you say it's this stuff that's the reason why you guys are like top 15 Fortune companies?
I'd say it's a
Or
big part of it, yeah.
Definitely a big part of it. We all
Yeah.
like money.
Yeah.
That's why we work. No, just kidding.
No, but like, I don't know, I think I have a lot of people ask me like, what's your favorite part about working at Kimley-Horn? I'm like, the cliche answer is the people, and
Yeah.
it's true, because I do genuinely, I love my supervisor, she's awesome, I love my teammates, I love the people that I hire for, like, I have great relationships in all of our offices, I love the people, but like, at the end of the day, I wanna make money, like, I'm not here for free, and I like to know that I get rewarded when I'm successful, whether that's more responsibility, advancement, or a big fat bonus.
To talk about the people a little bit more, like I had some internships through ODOT, and I feel like everyone who I worked with was like in their 50s, and just I didn't want to be friends with them necessarily. They had families. So I would say,
There's nothing wrong with
I mean,
children.
that's fine. I just have other plans. But like, as you can see just from looking at this picture, like most of us are in our 20s. We all hang out outside of work. I think it's not normal to be best friends with your coworkers, but like I'm really good friends with all of them. We have events. We have like a VP of fun, so we get to go out and spend Kimley-Horn's money on Topgolf. Actually, I took the young professionals out last month for Topgolf, just paid for, just because they want us to spend time together. Like it's nice coming into work every day and like being with all of your friends. So
Yeah, this summer we did kind of like a food truck series with a lot of our offices or catered food. Like I think we were just also excited that we were all like back in our office and it was summertime and like interns were there. Like every intern at the end of the internship was like, I got more free lunch than I ever thought I'd have in my life. I'm like, I think we were just so excited. We were like, yeah, free lunch here, free lunch there. But yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. Like teamwork awards, like for example, Izzy took time out of her day today to come help me recruit on campus during the career fair, come do this session with you guys. I'm gonna send her a teamwork award and it's $50 that gets added to her paycheck. So
you can do that whenever you want.
you can do that whenever you want. I can give out as many teamwork awards as I want. You can have
Maybe I'll give
someone-
you one too.
Cool. I didn't really do anything. For you. No, but like if you feel like someone went out of your way, like for example, I had a big intern event once and I was like printing all of these like labels and name tags and all these things. I had no idea what I was doing. I was standing at this printer and I was like, I can't get this thing to work. I don't know what's going on. Someone in marketing like came over and helped me for like an hour, like getting all of these materials ready when like she didn't have to, right? Like she has a job. She doesn't need to like, she was probably just annoyed that I was like messing up the printer and just wanted like to end it. But like I sent her a teamwork award. Like she stayed probably 30, she's hourly employee. She probably stayed a little bit later than she had to like help me make sure that I had stuff ready for my event. I just sent her $50. It's not my money. It's not like taken out of my paycheck to give to them. I'd be kind of messed up. But it's
That's what
just like,
Venmo's for.
it's like Kimley-Horn money. We set aside money every year for like teamwork awards. So you can max out though if you're like very friendly. Some people max out like every quarter and like no one's ever sent me that many before. Maybe I need to be nicer. Any questions? I'm gonna kind of like skip through some of the rest of them, because I know we
We
only
could just
have like
keep
5
going
minutes
on
left.
and-
Yeah, we can just like keep going. Do you have anything at the end?
Oh, no.
Okay, no.
I was saying, we could talk about this
Our
forever.
vision.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't need to read that. Any other questions? I know Dan did intern with us, so if anyone's like looking for internships, you might be able to
I'll talk about it for a
Ask
second. Why, yeah.
question, or like you could ask him questions about what his experience is like when he did, but yeah, anything else?
So you hire subcontractors or everything is done commission?
Depends on like the region or the office where you're at. I mean, if you have people in-house who can do it, then we'll use them. But if we don't, then we have to sub it out. So it just definitely depends on the office.
Like in my office, we do a lot of municipal and public work in comparison to other offices. So we actually have a handful of like inspectors and surveyors that work for us in Minnesota because we have enough work to employ them full time to do that. But that's not super normal. We just do like a ton of municipal, transit, structures, and aviation type of work. So we have like 4 probably that work for us full time, but we do sometimes have to like basically furlough them during certain times when we don't have projects that we need them. It's kind of weird, but like we might have like 3.
That's why we sub out.
Yeah.
So we don't have to furlough.
We don't want to like, but some people, they're just used to it. It's what they do. And I don't know, maybe they have other means of income during their, like, they understand that that's like the business that they're in, but like, yeah, we have a couple people that do that. It's not super common. But we really do focus on design and planning. So if you're like, I really want to do design, that's what we do. Unfortunately, we probably have limited opportunities for people that are looking for like a blend of field work and design work. There are other, I don't want to be like, go work somewhere else, but there are other firms that like, you'd probably get some of that.
So do you just use, do you just use AutoCAD yourself? Or do you use those AutoCAD and MicroStation? Or is MicroStation more for transportation?
Just for the transportation, I'd say our roadway team is probably 50-50 at this point. I know ODOT is transitioning to AutoCAD. So there's going to be less MicroStation, at least in the Columbus office. But I use all AutoCAD, I would say.
I use Outlook, and Excel. Anything else? If there's extra chicken, please take more chicken. I think I ordered like a lot of chicken, but I get excited and I don't know how hungry people are. So please take more. We'll hang out here for a little bit. So if you have other questions, come chat with us. But yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Are you guys gonna be there tomorrow? Right?
Yes, we will be there. Izzy will not, but I'm hiring someone else to come with me. So I'm recruiting people to recruit with me. But yeah, I will be there. We will be there. If our banner is still there, we just left it all up, so. Cool.
Great.
Yeah, thanks, guys.